Justin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Keith. Great to see you again.
Yeah, I'm excited to connect. We're going to talk about Anaqua, and there's so much happening at the company. So I was excited to do this video to break it all down. So if people aren't familiar with the company, like what is Anaqua?
So think about the most valuable things in your life, right? Either personally or in your business life. Most likely, those things aren't tangible assets, right? Most likely, those are intangibles. However you choose to define it, that's in the economy we're in, the world we're in. Most of the value today is coming from intangible things. And that's Anaqua's entire mission and purpose is we're dedicated to helping our clients figure out what those ideas and innovations are, all the way through nurturing them, developing them, and then ultimately protecting them, monetizing them, doing something productive with them. That's what we're all about. And it's intellectual property broadly defined, but the core sweet spot is still patents, trademarks, but also designs, trade secrets, all types of IP assets. That's where we exist. And our mission is to help our clients, which tend to be the largest corporations, most sophisticated corps and law firms in the world, help them, accomplish their mission as they develop these assets. Our goal is to support them in doing that.
Yeah, I mean your IP, like it's pretty much everything.
Increasingly, it's everything. Like that's where the value is in the economy. Think about our clients. We're global, so North America, Europe, Asia, Japan, Korea, Taiwan. That's where our clients are, and they are the ones who are developing life-saving or life-enriching drugs. They're the ones developing semiconductors, computing at the edge, AI technology. So those are our clients, the likes of like a GSK or NVIDIA, that may be sort of patent centric, but then also brand centric as well. It's easy to get focused on the sort of patent side of innovation, but also these brands, globally, there's about $2 trillion spent on R&D annually globally, but there's about 1 trillion spent on global branding. So our clients are in both of those fields. As they're making these investments in R&D and branding, we're helping them to develop those ideas and protect those ideas, turn them into something, turn them into assets that are, protected, monetized, secure.
And what I learned is the scale of Anaqua, like over 2 million users of your platform. That's massive. So how does it actually work? How do companies leverage the platform?
So a typical use case would be, I'll focus on the corporate side. It's a little easier to think about. So, a typical use case would be one of our corporate clients will implement our software. And it's not just the core of it is the IP group. So large companies will tend to have an intellectual property group, dedicated to getting protection on these assets, keeping that protection. But then where it becomes obviously that's interesting, but additionally, more and more our clients will expand upstream, and where you get those big user numbers or where you're rolling out an Aqua to the front end users who may be in R&D, and you're soliciting the ideas and insights from that group. And then the IP group can determine, okay, well, here's what we do with this type of asset, right? This should really be a patent. This should be a trademark. Maybe this one's a product enhancement. So we'll, triage that to the product group. But or maybe it's a trade secret now, is a newer one that we're hearing about. How can you protect these assets, out of the public domain? So those are the things that our clients do. And then so they're gathering these insights, triaging them, and then protecting them. And then similarly on the back end, figuring out, do they license them? How do they renew them? Which ones do they have are the most valuable? So it's sort of that end-to-end, idea to asset to doing something with the asset that we facilitate, across the world.
Now, along the theme of a lot of excitement at Anaqua, one of which is you're stepping into the CEO role. So talk about that.
Yeah, so I've been with Anaqua for shockingly, it's coming up on 9 years, I think. So joined as CFO and then Chief Operating Officer, joined the board about 6 years ago with our prior owners. And I've worked closely. Bob Romeo has been our CEO for the past 10 years. Bob's retiring. So we've been working on a transition succession plan for a long time. I'm excited to be stepping into the role. I think there's some great things we're already doing and a few things that a few ideas I have with how we can continue to grow the business in conjunction with our leadership team, our clients, all of that. I'm super excited to be stepping into that role.
In addition, Nordic Capital has come into the fold, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we've had a great run. So, to be clear, it's a wholesale ownership change, right? So, we're not dependent. We're a self-sustaining, profitable business. It's at some point we transition from one set of owners to another. We've done it multiple times in our history. So, we just wrapped up a great 6-year run with private equity out of Europe and the UK, primarily called Astorg. So great run with them. Prior to that was Insight and Bessemer out of New York. So great run with Astorg. Really accomplished what we set out to do. We're very proud that we set a strategy and a vision when we went into the investment with Astorg, and we executed on those things. And then, as you accomplish those goals, it's time to look for the next stage of ownership to support your next stage of growth. We ran a broad process, lots of interest from investment firms from all over the world. And ultimately, it's kind of a self-selecting matching process. So ultimately, it was Nordic Capital that's very large global private equity. They matched the best with us. They really bought our vision, bought into our vision, and what we can do with the business, and it fits with their core competency. They have, I think, 150 or so investments they've made. A lot of software businesses partnering with us to scale. That's their expertise. So, we're excited to be working with them on the next phase of growth.
So along those lines, so what's next for Anaqua?
So we're continuing, the first part is continuing the agenda that we've set out, right? So we think about the IP life cycle start to finish and where are we effective serving that today and where do we have gaps. Similarly, we think about geographies and segments and where are we strong and where do we have gaps, and then we work on filling them. So a lot of that we do organically. So we invest, over $20 million a year in R&D to improve our products. But then we also look at acquisitions. So if there's an area where, we think we could accelerate what we're doing or bring in expertise we may not have in-house. In the 9 years I've been here, we've done 10 acquisitions. So, that'll be part of the thesis with Nordic as well. If there's a capability we can acquire or an underserved segment, that we can accelerate what we're doing, bring in new skills and talent and know-how. We're very open to doing acquisitions to accelerate it, and that'll certainly be part of the thesis ongoing with Nordic.
Now, what's the culture like at Anaqua? Like, what's the day-to-day working environment like?
So we've got, core values that aren't set by me; they're set by our people. So, we have a culture team. They've sort of done an exercise, put together the set of core values that's sort of our team's view on what's important to us. A couple that if I were to think about the culture, a couple that I would highlight would be collaborative, right? So we really, this is a type of environment where we help each other out and internally and externally, right? So if we have a client that has a problem, we will swarm on it and we'll bring people from whatever office, whatever function, whatever it takes, we will swarm and meet the client's need, to help the client help each other. That's a key part of what we are. Another one would be innovative. Another one of our core values that we're really proud of, for example, AI is sort of transforming where we are in the IP industry, our underlying markets, but then the IP market itself. AI is changing how things are done there. We're proud to have been an early pioneer in putting some AI features into our software. And there's much more we can do there. But, innovative is another, it's part of what's led to our success so far. And it's part of what, is really important to our people to continue to innovate.
Now, top tier talent, regardless of market conditions, they always have options in front of them. So why is now the ideal time to join Anaqua?
I think the IP industry is, undergoing a change right now. So AI has been a big catalyst, right? So there's, multiple angles that AI is changing the market. So it's on the sort of innovation side, it's how can you use AI to come up with more ideas, better ideas. And then on the IP formation side, how can you protect those ideas faster, more efficiently, create stronger assets? Like it's pretty pervasive. So it's an exciting time to be involved in the industry, in the IP industry itself. And then the other point is where we started the conversation, Keith, like thinking about what's going on in R&D and branding spend globally. Those are the drivers for our business and our market, right? So if you think about how companies can have sustainable competitive differentiation, in my view, it's innovation and it's branding, and that's where Anaqua is. Those are the things that we focus on.
If you are interested in exploring opportunities at Anaqua, you need to go to their company page on VentureFizz. You'll see all their job listings there. Go to venturefizz.com/Anaqua and you'll see their jobs. Justin, thanks so much for taking the time to walk us through all the great details and the updates on the company.
Thanks, Keith. Great catching up. Talk soon.